And we'll welcome everybody who's in the room to join us, find a seat, and we'll get started. Front row seat, yeah. So we always start our meetings with community agreements. These were developed by our co-ed members for everyone in AIA Oregon, and actually we've shared them nationally. So we're starting to get some traction seeing them show up in other committees around the nation. Very proud of our work. I will not read each of them to you, but they are important. They set the tone that we seek a community and culture that is respectful, comfortable, open, curious, inclusive, and kind. And while we can't require you to take these things out into the rest of the world, we do think it's a pretty good way to live outside of our meetings. So tonight, like I said, very bare bones agenda because we don't have any bylaws changes. We don't have any voting for the members to participate in. And so this annual meeting is more about reporting out and sharing information and having a good conversation. Also rolling out our strategic plan update because over the summer, board members, committee chairs, folks who represent us at the national level as representatives to NAC and SFX and the Young Architects Committee, EPCs, participated in a strategic plan retreat in Bend. And we came up with some concepts and some objectives and strategies for moving forward that we'd like to share with the chapter. Also leave a little room for you to give us some feedback. And I don't know, is Daniel on yet? I don't know if he was able to join tonight.
I let him in.
I see Daniel. Okay. Daniel is on tonight. This is Daniel. He is your treasurer. He is a full-time staff member at CB2 Architects in Salem, and he is empowered by the bylaws that I've put down to have charge and exercise general supervision of the financial affairs and keep records and books of account of the chapter along with me to make sure that we prepare budgets, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, and to make sure that we're collecting dues. Also, Daniel checks in with me just to reassess. We do a mid-year review. We do the preparation of the next year's budget, and that happens with every treasurer. They also sit on the treasurer also sits on the XCOM, and we have our monthly meetings with the executive committee where we answer questions about what's going on with finances. Uh-oh, hold on. And John, who's sitting in front of me, John Flynn, your president. You can wave. There you go, John. John is your 2025 AIA Oregon president. He is here tonight. The president serves a 2-year term for Oregon. This is the 2nd year of John's term, so it is coming to the end of his term. Jake, who is on, is your president-elect and will begin his term as we transition at the end of the year into January. John has overseen the AIA Oregon headquarters conversation that we hosted over 18 months to see what do we do next as we left the Pearl. He also put together and ran ODC 24 with us in Bend and led that 2025 to 2028 strategic planning effort. So it's been a very productive presidential term. Thank you very much, sir. He is entitled to do that also by the bylaws that I've put in here, mainly saying that he is responsible for just about every aspect of administration, oversight, and conversation with the board of directors, your executive committee, me, and any of your members at large. And I guess I'll stop here real quick and just ask if we have any questions. Daniel, I didn't know if you wanted to say a few words before we jump into the meat of the presentation about being treasurer or any of that. I'd give you an opportunity to share. Yeah.
Well, my computer froze right as you were introducing everybody, so I don't have a lot to say other than currently we are kind of in the final stages of preparing our 2026 draft budget. Heather and I are going to be working through that in earnest next week and then getting some feedback from the board. As always, I encourage any member who has any questions about the budget or how we do things from a financial standpoint, reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. Our goal is to make this a transparent process. So we want everybody to feel like they're able to ask the questions they want to. So please feel free to email me with anything you have. Thanks.
Excellent. And then I'll get back into this. Thank you, Daniel. So full board of directors. Oh, and now all of my pictures are here. Fabulous. Full board of directors includes John, Daniel, Emil, who is also on as your secretary, Jake, who is your president-elect, Willard Williams, and Mark McKechnie, who round out your at-large directors. Across the bottom row, you'll see Ian Schmidt for Bend, Andrew Scheit for Eugene, Elisa Ahn for Portland, Dylan Chavez for Salem, and our Southern post was just recently vacated, unfortunately early. So we have a vacant seat there, but we are still operating fully. We have a plan, I think, in Bend for the next director to take place, but the board can appoint someone before the end of the year as needed, and that conversation has started. So we'll continue that conversation, keep everybody updated about how we fill that seat. But I also show you these pictures to just share with you, like, these are the folks who've been working for you all year long, showing up to board meetings, showing up to XCOM meetings, carrying on the business of meeting with committees, because each board member has a committee liaison assignment. And so, or maybe more than one, some people have more than one. And so their job is to check in with the committees, ask if there are any requests of the board, make sure that there aren't any issues, discrepancies, or problems that we need to solve, or tools that we need to offer that committee to do its best work. This is already outdated. So I'll just tell you that now, because we have two new committees, first of all. And then we also have our board member is missing the president-elect, who is also a member of the board and rounds out what looks like an even number is actually an odd number, because obviously for voting purposes. And then each of your section directors, all of those bodies though vote. So president-elect included on the board of directors. These are all people who vote and have decision-making authority for your chapter. Committee chairs do not vote, but do report to the board via those committee liaisons that I just mentioned. And then, of course, staff, which serves you, also do not have votes. So I serve, I'm sorry. I serve on the board as ex officio member, but I do not vote on the board of directors. John.
Do I need to grab it?
Yeah, grab the mic and that might help.
I didn't know if you were going to talk about our new board members coming on in 2026. Can we mention those?
I have not yet, but Paul, do you want to? It looks like you have a tech comment.
Okay, yeah. Actually, well, I did want to thank the outgoing board members for 2025.
Please do.
So ending their terms are Ian Schmidt, section director for Bend. Also, Andrew Scheit, section director for Eugene, and Elisa Ahn, section director for Portland. They'll be finishing their terms, and new folks coming in on the board. Also want to thank David Summer for his time this year as section director for Southern Oregon, and we are currently working hard to fill that spot. Coming onto the board next year for the Bend position, Sarah Birdby, for the section director in Eugene, John Webster, and for the section director in Portland, Jericho Bankston. Continuing members of the board, Mark McKechnie and Willard Williams, Dylan Chavez. As we said, we're going to fill the Southern Oregon section director spot, and the executive committee will remain the same, but just with different titles. So I'll be immediate past president. Jake Sander will be your president. Daniel Roth continues as treasurer, and ML Vitas was kind enough to re-enlist and will continue on as your secretary next year.
Yeah.
So I wrote it all down, so I figured I should
Thank you.
go ahead and do it.
Very smart, and thank you for that. And yeah, because the ML re-upped her term and we did not hold an election for the other board seats as they were not vacated, we did not have, we don't have to confirm by vote. The board did already confirm, by membership, I should say, the board already confirmed by vote your 2026 Board of Directors. So thank you for that update, John. So yes, as I was saying, the other part that's antiquated about this slide already is that we have added 2 new committees, and we'll talk about those as we get into the strategic plan update. But we have also not represented here. We also have a not very active, but a local affairs committee as well, local committee on government affairs that is kind of a counterpart to the legislative affairs committee. I will leave these here for just a moment for the people in the room, but also online, and let you know that it only works if you use it. Our website is robust, has gone through lots of updates, and absolutely includes information on both the leadership that's currently in place and the opportunities for leading your chapter in the future. Right now, we have openings for an EPC co-chair, an SFX chair or co-chair. Absolutely. So SFX is the Small Firms Exchange. That's currently headed up by Jericho Bankston. It is a statewide committee that meets digitally. So there would be no physical requirement, but they do meet weekly right now. They have a weekly, like a coffee chat that they've been hosting every Wednesday. So that's the SFX committee. It's kind of conversational, but they also put out some programming. If you happen to catch the Business of Architecture series, that was created and curated by our Small Firms Committee this year. It was a 5-part series that included things like marketing and how you get yourself, you know, more jobs, right? So that's kind of the crux of the Small Firms Exchange, kind of talking about all of the things you have in common and then how you defeat those problems together. The Emerging Professionals Committee, EPC, is what it sounds like. It's those folks who've either been licensed 10 years or less who qualify as young architects, or people who are in the AXP process. So people who are on their way. We're hoping to find, I think, 2 co-chairs for that, 2 people for that at least, because it really is a heavy lift. The EPC Emerging Professionals Committee does a lot of work, many happy hours, summer events, cross-pollination with other groups, with other outside groups like NOMA, and then also to our own committees. So very energetic committee. And then I think we were also looking for, like we said, that Southern director position. And we also need a National Associates Committee representative. That's right. Our NAC representative's term is up, and we will need a new person at the national level to represent us as the Oregon representative for the National Associates Committee. So lots of opportunities around for people to join in, use your voice, and help us make our institute a more robust place for all of you. So here we are at the budget time of year. This is just a simple graphic to just try and explain, like, we take a very nebulous set of things, right? We take our dues and payments and our money, and we translate that into value and experience for each member. And how we go about that and how we get to that is exactly how we have come about our strategic plan and our budget development. The timeline for budget development, as Daniel pointed to, really starts in May. Each year, I remind everybody, like, hey, it's halfway through the year, and I know you don't want to think about it yet, but we have to. So we start asking the committees to tell us, what do you think you will continue to do, or what new things would you like to start doing next year, so we can try and plan appropriately. And then we also ask, as Daniel said, the board, the XCOM, our committee chairs, and then we sit down for our first draft review. I've just now passed that off to him in earnest with the executive summary as of Monday this week, I think, Tuesday maybe. But we did get that sent over. He is reviewing it now. This is a great time for any of you to ask questions, but I'll also say we're going to open up hours for our board of directors to have office hours with us between now and the December transition meeting. So yes, reach out to any of your board members, to John, to me, or to Daniel with questions so that we can try and field them before we get to the transition meeting in December, which is where the budget is approved. It is one of, I think, our proudest moments as an institute. We have a peaceful transition of power, which we can't say anymore about everybody, every place all the time. And our peaceful transition of power happens when our outgoing board recommends the calendar and the budget to the incoming board. And the incoming board has some discussion, maybe makes a few edits, and then accepts that calendar and budget to move forward with. I anticipate that being a pretty smooth process since most of the same board members are continuing on this year and have carried the discussion. But I am certain we'll have some tweaks, as we always do, to make things more accessible or more easy to understand. Sometimes we tease details out of the lines of the budget so people can see them better. Or, like I said, just make sure that we've allocated enough to meet all of the goals that our committees and sections have. And I'll stop there. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
mention,
Hop on in.
just
May
to
wanna come in.
add on the office hours piece of it. So starting next week at this same time period.
Yep.
Right. So it'll be every Thursday from 5 to 6 for basically about a month.
Yeah, I think we have a couple of DDSs in there that we'll have to work around, but
Okay.
you'll see the announcements come out.
Okay.
Right. And I'm going to fly through some of the rest of these slides too, because I see Elizabeth is on and I want to give her time to give her report. Let's go back to the timeline. Okay. So budget and timeline. We have an understanding. Oh, it went crazy on me. Sorry. So balancing member needs and wants with what we know to be increasing costs. What we know we want and what we have heard from our members are important. Quality programming, local options and events, section-sponsored committees and events, targeted population support for like the small firms, our emerging professionals, or our urban design committee. And obviously to keep, and this is for our own chapter accreditation, perhaps in case you don't know, we go through a process with AIA National every year. It's either a light accreditation or every 3 years, the more robust accreditation review, which is what we're going through this year, where they check to make sure that we're doing all the things a good business should be doing to remain an accredited chapter of AIA. So do we pay our taxes? Do we have filings with the state? Have we managed our budget? Do we have a budget to share with them? Are we advertising things like AIA Trust? And do we have a job board? Have we done our legislative advocacy work? And are we providing continuing education credits? These are the things that keep us an accredited chapter. I am happy to say not only this chapter, but every chapter I've been an AIA employee of has been accredited, and this is no different. We'll seek our update this year, and I am completely optimistic and confident that we'll be accredited again. And so all of that wraps into like, where do we go? How do we spend these dollars? What are we going to do with our energy and time? And that is what led to our strategic planning retreat. I do want to give a thanks to ML as our secretary, who worked with me to really kind of set a tone for last year, thinking of how we would get this ball rolling and why it was important to spend the time thinking it through and not rush through this process. It was very important. And I think it's become very valuable to our chapter. I will not read every single word on this screen. It's a lot. At the end, you will get a QR code that will lead you to this entire report that you can download and review on your own. But I've taken some of the main slides to share with you. First, to let you know, we hired a consultant named Brian Wilkinson from Wilkinson Ferrari and Company out of Salt Lake City, Utah. They helped us with both defining the way that we would get to these answers in the retreat and then actually facilitating the retreat. And I think he did an amazing job. What we found as our purpose and desired outcomes were to plan for a new AIA Oregon structure, define strategies and tactics to guide our future, to get our board members aligned with that mission, and then demonstrate that value back out to our members. Our top takeaways from that event. What's that? You know, we're at a turning point. AIA Oregon, you may not remember, has just recently, in the last 5 years, really gone through a reorganization, a governance shift. Right before I arrived as your CEO, you had just reorganized from several chapters around the state to one state chapter with sections. And believe it or not, there are still many members who don't know that even happened. So we're still in a process of education, I think, and letting people know what your new structure is, but that none of the energy had to leave. And so we're at that turning point of helping everybody understand what their perceived value versus their real value is, who our main audiences are, and how we can take that shared vision for the future and make it real. I want to stop here and see if you have any thoughts about how we started the process going in and any reviews.
Yeah, it was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we gathered kind of mid-afternoon on Wednesday and just did a kind of spitballing session with sticky notes and just throw up ideas. And you'll see that in the report. It's kind of chronologically presented that way. And then we spent the all day Thursday sort of drilling down on all of this, and then a half day on Friday, getting to a point where, I mean, you'll see if you read the report that it's teeing up a whole bunch of initiatives that we are going to be tracking as we go forward. So, you know, next steps and then metrics on how we proceed. But I'll let you kind of get into the weeds on all that.
Thank you. Yeah, just as a perspective, I think it's important to know how much substantive time and thought was spent on our takeaways that we developed. The key takeaways being that we have to focus in on what we are good at. Like, we have some major bits that are ours to own: advocacy, education, and the experience of being an architectural member of our professional group. And so let's play on those strengths. Let's clarify and communicate AIA's member value and benefits. Let's support, and this came up many times, targeted professional development initiatives, specifically around different career levels and where you are on that path. And what are the most significant external threats then that we could perceive around those things that we want to achieve? We are aware that economic impact is real. We know that dues are not what we want you to worry about, but they are a necessary part of how we maintain and continue our momentum. So how do we balance and make sure that you know that the dollars you're spending are going toward the things that you care most about? And then what role should AIAO play in mentoring the next generation of architects? That was a major theme. And from that, I think we've got some great ideas that we've already started to put in action, and we'll talk about a little bit more again. The COPAL committee, which I'm very excited about, Savannah Sinowitz brought forward to us as a product of Project Almost Architect. The idea that this committee will just be supporting the path to architectural licensure, and will be the home now for the Project Almost Architect program, means that it's going to have longevity and therefore lasting impact. And then what do our successes look like in 2030? This was a really broad question. I was really impressed to hear that we would, at least in our leadership's mind, and I'd love to hear from the rest of you, that we are still tailoring those programs. We have a robust infrastructure and a clear mission, but we also are celebrating our organizational transparency, our collaboration, and our impact metrics, things we can measure. How many times did we show up? How many people did we help? How far did we get across the finish line? And what's one bold idea you'd love to see us explore? This netted us some very cool things, some things that were a little out of the ballpark still, like Bitcoin. We're not there yet. But bold legislative advocacy, getting ahead of issues instead of being reactive, using all of our digital tools, maybe considering some innovative grant programs at the local levels, and statewide events that unite us all. So as we envision that future, The other thing that was brought back was maybe this isn't a plan all the way out to 2030. 5-year strategic plans are kind of a thing of the past. We're really looking at a 3-year window is what our facilitator told us. And that's kind of all you can pull a crystal ball out about nowadays. So we are working on a 2028 plan here for the next set of years. So 3 years, 2025 to 2028. And in 2027, the recommendation then is for us at the end of that year to start looking toward what our next strategic planning effort will be. In between now and then, we will focus on our programs and the services that we own, meaning the Oregon Design Conference, our Oregon Architecture Awards, and what's newly become our Oregon Leadership Summit, which happens each year in Salem. Raising the value of continuing education efforts by tailoring those programs, exploring revenue raising options, which, by the way, I'm happy to report and can say this news now. One of our newest tools in the toolbox comes from National. We have reconfigured our component investment and alignment funds to be an investment, an actual investment that will grow over time. And so, along with that, we're getting an alignment payment for each chapter that equates to about 1 or 2.5 times what we normally get for our component resource allocation in a year. So we've just been alerted that we have $130,000 for our reserves, which is just amazing news, and allows us to start planning with solidity for the future, not having to worry about economic uncertainty for at least a little bit. And then we can consider those fee adjustments for award entries. We can start trying to figure out how we align and make sure that our programs are stacked with national programs and make sense for things like the Framework for Design Excellence, so that we are nesting our programs for our members to be successful at all levels. I think one of the main questions that was super important was what would make us indispensable? And I posed that back out to all of you and to ask your fellow members, what would make us indispensable to you and your section? Some of the ideas that we got back and we are already responding to: rapid response advocacy. Cindy, our lobbyist, is on call constantly and has already started to respond to questions about contracting, whether qualifications-based selection rules are being followed, if there are people who are running afoul of any of those type of things, please let us know right away so that we can respond rapidly to your request. We can't respond if we don't know. Also, a greater sense of cohesive organization headed in a positive direction. That's partly staff, but that's also y'all telling us which direction is positive and how you would like us to go in that way. But I believe your leaders are open to hearing any and all suggestions. And I won't read every single one of these, but I will say that we are really proud of the low-risk mentorship opportunities that we're providing for emerging professionals, again, with their own internal leadership, developing things like Project Almost Architect, and the Oregon Leadership Summit, which also supports our emerging professionals by letting them meet the OSBE group at the beginning of a year. Basic strategic priorities then were broken down into the how we're going to get there, right? We're going to use that member-centered professional development. We have already started the Small Firms Exchange Business of Architecture series. We had a fire resiliency series this year that focused in on just fire, but we will expand into the other elements starting next year. And we need that input from you. Tell us where you think that should head so that we can respond to it. Awards and member recognition. I hope you guys, for any of you who attended the awards program, it was a different program this year. We had entertainment. We have an honors and awards task force that was given the opportunity to kind of lead the production and give us notes for improving. And they are continuing to give us those notes, not just for improving the awards presentation itself, but the entry process. And if it is giving the return on investment to entrants that it should be. Advocacy and partnerships, continuing to strengthen those. We have started the industry forum, which consists of AIA, ACEC, which is your engineering consultants, AGC, your general contractors, and PLSO, the Land Surveyors of Oregon. We meet quarterly in Salem and discuss issues of legislation, things that we agree on, things that we don't agree on, and how we can all work to support a pipeline, because each and every one of those industries is impacted right now by an aging workforce. Public awareness and community engagement. I think this is also happening at the local level in our sections, but from a state level, what we're hoping to do is make sure that we're providing you all those tools. So either connecting you to the right committee or to the right individual to help you get access to or movement on your issue at a local level. And then accessible and reliable programming. We know that as we come out of pandemic and back into in-person, like here we are at the City of Possibility, just trying to partner with our firms, our offices. Please let us know if your space is a space where we could host an event, because we are trying to get back out in person and do our networking and continuing education in places with technology that allows us to do that, which should be just about every firm nowadays. It's pretty much everybody. I did say I would leave this QR code up here for you to see the entire report. So I will leave it for just a moment. But I just threw a lot of information at you. And I want to give a moment before we transition to Elizabeth to see if there are any questions about the direction we're taking, the strategic retreat, or any of the process that we're entering to get started on budgeting for 2026.
And before you guys start, this is Paul. These items you mentioned, Heather, we're already starting on them. We're already making progress. And the exhibit that we're in right now is just an example of that. We're trying to expand the public's access to architecture and architects so that we can dissolve these misconceptions of what architects are. A lot of the people, when you ask non-architects, they think of maybe like a egotistical guy in a room in a corner saying, I'm the best. And that's not necessarily the case. It's and the hope is that with these continued progress we'll have more access to the public, so they understand what you do, and in the process organically create more connection to the community. So there's more desire to increase the work that architects do, and hopefully in the process support your business success from the bottom sole practitioner to the largest firm across the state. So yeah.
Thanks, Paul. I see Patty has his hand raised.
Yes, it's a question that came up while you're going through the strategic plan, and that is that I know that when we had a fixed abode, as it were, in Portland, that was really for the Portland chapter, but it was very effective in being a center for the other design professions as well. And I think it was tremendously helpful, for example, in promoting our strategic principle number 4, which is public awareness and community engagement. Everyone knew where it was. I wonder if there is any future in forming some sort of an alliance with the other professions with whom we now work, the landscape architects and the planners, to collectively rent a place that we can use on a regular basis. I say this not completely out of the blue. In the City Club, we've been struggling with the whole idea of, it used to be Friday Forum in the same place every Friday lunchtime. Everybody knew that. And we were fairly certain that that model wasn't going to work anymore because of how work patterns have changed since COVID. But in fact, having done a lot of surveying people, what we discover is, yes, indeed, they do. If there is a regular place and meetings occur at a regular time, they will build their schedules around it, and we'll get much more participation. So I wonder if there is any value in investigating, first of all, whether the other professional groups are interested, and if so, how much it would cost and what supplement Portland members might pay in order to have that privilege.
That is, I think, a conversation, one that can be still absolutely had. So let me just start by saying, absolutely, the conversation can be had. I think it does start at the Portland section at this moment,
Absolutely.
as how we're structured. But I don't. There's no precursor or any reason why, as a section, you could not start those conversations with those groups to see. I think that's exactly what started to happen with why we're here in the City of Possibility. Yeah, I think you'll need a mic real quick. And if you don't mind saying your name and
Jamin Awesome. I had a conversation with John last year, and I was under the impression that that had been kind of shelved, that idea, and that money was going towards other
so,
things.
yeah, kind of to finish.
Because I'm a huge advocate of what Patty just.
Okay, well, to kind of finish the thought, yeah, sorry to
Thank you.
wrap around it. We did launch on an 18-month-long outreach process to ask all of the members, what should we do about our HQ? It was a long process. We hired a consultant. There were lots of surveys, maps, and opportunities, in-person opportunities for people to tell us what they thought the best strategy forward for headquarters might be for the state. And it at the time was not to invest in a physical space, but to try and actually get our board members out and around and out often and encourage members to meet in other spaces like this or others that we could rent until we revisit our reserves, rebuild our reserves, and could have the conversation again, which does take some time. I don't know if we will go through all of the ins and outs of what happened in our last building, but I will summarize it by saying there was costs to leaving that building that did have impact on your reserves. And we do need to reinvest in them before you start that conversation again as a matter of fiduciary responsibility. After that, I believe it's an opportunity for you to absolutely have. But at the moment, the way you are structured and what we had to go through to deal with that building coming out of pandemic, I believe you're not yet set for that conversation quite yet, but we're closer than we used to be. Yes, John. And then ML has her hand up online.
Thanks. Yeah, because I don't think it's a far-fetched idea to reach out to partner organizations who actually have the same issues that we have around physical space. Jericho had forwarded me an email maybe a month or two ago, just saying, hey, there's a space, there's space all over the place nowadays. And there's space available, and wouldn't it be a great space? Yeah, of course it would be a great space. But, we need to sort of proceed with a clear understanding about what we want to do, because during the strategic planning retreat, the folks that were at their retreat reaffirmed that we don't want to go into a space right now, at least not on our nickel, the full price alone, without any other organizations, that we may have, partnering ideas or partnering relationships with. So it's
well, and until we also know what, by the way, this is from my experience and the experience of others who've run Centers for Architecture and AIA, until we have at least 2 years of programming planned. Programming first, place second. So I thoroughly encourage us to talk to other groups and start figuring out what that programming could be. But the programming comes first before the space, in order for it to be its most successful. And that's, I think, been kind of proven in several spaces. We're losing people. And I don't want to lose too many more. ML, and then back to Patty. And then I want to let Elizabeth speak.
Yeah, thank you. I love that there's an idea coming out of this member meeting. That's why we're holding the meeting. And fundamentally, it's the centralized versus distributed kind of is the way I'm seeing it. And I really feel we need to give the distributed model a chance, because I think everybody took some time with the end of the pandemic, and this is a new approach, like the board going to the different sections for meetings, and how can we make that be really engaging for people across the state? How can we be present, as was being said? Paul mentioned about us having a greater presence, and Heather has mentioned having us a greater presence so that the general public understands. So I think there's just a lot still in the air, and I would encourage anyone that wants to see there be something like a physical space that's AIA Oregon, please get involved. Like there's so much, we have capacity to take any volunteer. We can find something, a place for you to bring your strengths and flourish. So that would be my encouragement.
And then back to Patty.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I'm absolutely not suggesting that we abandon the statewide effort. What I am suggesting is that about 3/4 of the registered architects are in the Portland area. And what I'm suggesting is that they may choose, not my choice, their choice, to tax themselves a little bit more to pay for that, along with members from other groups. The other point is that it could well be a rented space. We don't need to get deeply involved as we were over the last space. We learned some lessons there, and some good ones and some bad ones. And so clearly we learned from that experience. But I would question whether delaying thinking about this until after the current programs are exhausted is perhaps not the right way to do it. I think it would be better to know in advance what we want to accomplish, whether we do want to do it or whether we don't want to do it. And I think it'd be well worthwhile to sound out certainly the planners and the landscape architects, possibly the engineers as well. One of the reasons that I'm coming back to this, although it's already been discussed, is that when we did have a space, it was a great place to recruit people. Apart from anything else, it was a great way of bringing people into the profession to see what we do, and then become more engaged. We were a presence in the community, and I don't see that presence now. No physical presence, and I think that was an enormously valuable part of what the AIA was for the community. And I want to emphasize yes, this is looking at the interests of the Portland people, but I think the benefit will spread to the entire state because we'll be able to put on bigger programs and so forth. That was all. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I think for sure it's worth bringing up in the Portland section, and the director will be Jericho. So getting it onto the agenda is worth conversation, and it's all in your member hands. Honestly, it's up to you guys to keep discussing. None of that is preposterous or off the table. It's just the direction I've been given so far. So happy to hear some more. And with that, if you guys don't mind, I would like to turn some time over to Elizabeth, because she has so patiently waited, and she has been our young architect. And by the way, congratulations, our young architect of the year, Elizabeth Lagarde. And yes, now I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you for the time. Yes, can you see my screen?
It's coming in now.
Perfect. And you don't see my notes at all, right?
Oh,
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you all for this time. I know we can talk more on the conversation about the Portland location, but thank you for this time to share more about the Young Architects Forum. And this piece isn't just for young architects, it's definitely important for everyone in the room to hear, so they can share this back with a young architect that they may have in their office, or maybe a young architect that they might know. So hello everyone, I'm Elizabeth Lagarde. I'm an associate Hannaberry Eddy Architects, and I'm proud to serve as AIA Oregon's Young Architect Rep on the Young Architects Forum for this year, 2025, and next year, 2026. So if you don't know, the Young Architects Forum is a member group, a national member group with the American Institute of Architects, and we're organized to address issues of particular importance to recently licensed architects. And by that, we mean to be a recently licensed architect or a young architect means that you are within your 10 years or less of your initial licensure. So the naming has nothing to do with age. It is based on the number of years that you've been licensed. And this is us earlier this year in our annual meeting. But it is not all of us. This is all of us. This is the Young Architects Forum, which is made up of 53 young architect representatives from all 50 states, plus DC, Puerto Rico, and the international region as well. There is a chair, a vice chair, a past chair, and we also have 5 directors. We all work in one of the 5 focus groups to carry out the strategic initiative of Architects in Action, Catalyzing for Change, by focusing on 3 priority areas. And these 3 priority areas have been guiding our work. And what is that work? And what do we do? So first, we generate content in the digital realm, and this is through digital toolkits that we put together so that local chapters can use more on a local level. We also have an online presence on social media to highlight the work of young architects. We have a lot of conversations about what it means to be a licensed architect and how you can use that um, to create a profession that we want to see. And we also create monthly newsletters called Now You Know to provide national updates. And there are a lot of great national programs that I'm still learning, and I will continue sharing through the Now You Know newsletter. You may also have heard of Connection, which is our digital quarterly publication featuring project profiles, interviews, and other design content. Seen here is the last Connection, which featured the work of Project Almost Architect. You see Savannah on that and Yvonne as well. Check it out if you haven't. It was a really great issue. And I do want to plug in, I don't know if Nicole was in the room, but I know she would want me to share this. We do have a call for quarter four's Connection, which we're welcoming submissions on the topic of driving wellness, mitigating burnout, and redefining wellness. The draft deadline is due next Friday, November 7th. And yeah, the point of contact for that is the editor-in-chief, Nicole Becker, who was the previous Oregon representative. And we also stay engaged through knowledge sharing and providing that through live presentations, either at conferences or virtually. We like to share a lot of content so that young architects stay up to date on the latest technologies, trends, best practices in the fields, and really any other topic that is of interest to this demographic. I also wanted to highlight that we have currently an open call for applications for this Align Mentorship Program, which is in collaboration with the College of Fellows, which is developed as a national mentoring program to pair young architects with AIA fellows in small learning groups, which is called a pod, to really foster and grow their professional development. The program matches participants across 3 different focus areas: scholarship, civic, and I forget the other one. It's right there. Oh, practice, yeah. And like I said, this is an annual program and applications are currently open. Applications are open for young architects and also mentors, fellows to mentor in this program. Applications are due November 24th. So take advantage of this great program. And lastly, this Future Forward grant. This one is not specifically just for young architects. This is a grant that's open to students and emerging professionals. Emerging professionals being within 10 years out of school, not being licensed. And so this $10,000 grant is awarded to test innovative ideas and really challenge traditional practice. We awarded the grant earlier this year in July, but I just wanted to share this because I don't think that many people know about this great opportunity that's open not just to young architects, but also students and emerging professionals. But keep an eye out for it in early spring next year. And stay connected. You can stay connected through various channels linked here. This QR code links to our link tree with multiple links to all of our platforms. We are mostly active on Instagram and LinkedIn. So please follow and engage with us if you're not already. And I know I've shared a lot to recap of what we've been up to, and I'm not sure if there's time for questions, but if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm happy to distribute this as well, a copy of the slide to everyone. I'll probably share this with Paul to share with everyone. And last, I will say, it's only my first year, and it's definitely been an honor to serve in this role. I'll be honest, I didn't know what I was getting into as a young architect, but I was curious, and I'm so glad that I leaned into that curiosity. I've definitely learned a lot, and both grown personally and professionally, connecting with just great leaders across the country and engaging in dialogue about the future of our profession and just taking action by creating these great programs to support young architects. And if you would like to know more about what my role is and what the role of a young architect is, or if you're interested in being the state's rep after my term ends, we have this one pager on the screen, and you can download it as well, which explains more about the role. And I'll probably share this also on the AIA Oregon's circle, which I know we're trying to be more active on that.
Yeah, we can get it on our website. We can get it on
Wonderful.
your report. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's it.
Thank you for your service too, Elizabeth. Yeah. Just want to give you a round of applause for how hard you've been working. Seen you everywhere this year, so thank you. And I know there are more people who are on than who have their video on. Now that we have stopped sharing. If you want to share your video and have a little chat with us, you can. But also I'm happy to field questions that are still left or continue some of the other conversation with our 5 minutes left. And those of you who are here in person, we can of course chat some more as soon as this is over. But yeah, I'm happy to, I just want to put that QR code back up then as we leave. After we finish chatting, I'll put it back up so you can download the entire report, or more accurately, I guess we'll just make sure it's on the website. We'll get it onto aiaoregon.org under our resources tab so that you can see this 2025 strategic plan and respond to it by emailing us or leaving us some feedback right there about what you think our directions should be. Also, though, this is just a good way to know we're going to do this periodically. So if you really want to get your hands into it, you really want to be a part of the conversation, run for one of the seats that will become available in the next 3 years so that you can position yourself to have a conversation about the strategic plan the next time we take a retreat. And then maybe you'll also get a cool trip to Bend or wherever we pick to go. I am going to make you work, but I will feed you and we'll have a little bit of time to actually hang out. Oh, ML, who is with you?
This is my granddaughter, Jude.
Hi, Jude.
Yes, she
Speaking of
likes
future.
seeing who's on the meeting and seeing if she knows anyone.
Oh, well, you know us all now.
That's right.
Oh, that's so nice. Next generation. Yes. We hope.
Mhm.
Lovely. Well, Jude, you heard a lot tonight. Can you think of anything that you think the architects should be doing?
Hello.
Oh, okay. Well, you think of something, you tell your grandma, and then she'll let us know.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I don't have anything further. If nobody else does, I will say good night to everyone and thank you very much for listening. And by all means, please reach out to us so that we can learn more and respond quickly. Thank you so much.
And come visit our exhibit
Civic
downtown,
responsibility.
please, and share the word.
Yeah.
Hope to see you. We'll be open the next few weeks.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Good to see you, Jake.
Easy enough, y'all. Thank you. I didn't mean to sign back in.
Really surprised.